Okay, Joey, let's see if you've changed your answer yet.
Oh! Fucker!
And then some. Well?
I was just saying. Sequel to Exterminator? Dude!
Speak.
It's fucking pointless! He dies in the end of the first one!
You do realize that I'm doing an episode on both films? That I've watched The Exterminator from start to finish, that I've done research, taking notes. So?
The cop shoots him! The cop shoots him and he falls in the fucking East River!
Final answer?
You're insane!
Alright, Jojo, tell you what. Since you've done so much to help my show, let me use your camera on several occasions, help me shoot my intro, I'm gonna give you a chance. I'm gonna head back upstairs. I'm gonna go shoot this episode. But if you're wrong, I'll be back. I love the vigilante genre. Since I was a kid, I've followed the exploits of Frank Castle in comic book form and in film form. Dolph Lundgren battling the Yakuza, Thomas Jane destroying John Travolta's family, and Ray Stevenson making mincemeat out of Dominic West's face. The Punisher, a character I find hard not to enjoy. I've always found something really appealing about revenge stories. A person pushed so far that they take the law into their own hands. It's fucking awesome. Before the Punisher was trying to assassinate Spider-Man and shooting RPGs point blank into open windows, action titans of the 60s and 70s like Charles Bronson had a death wish as Paul Kersey, a man whose family is brutally attacked, leaving his daughter a mentally scarred rape victim and his wife beaten to death. Kersey takes action while the police are unable to find his wife's killer or even stop other local crimes. You could call it the dawn of the vigilante. Death Wish, Taxi Driver, Rolling Thunder, blueprints for the likes of The Punisher and Watchmen's Rorschach. But in 1980, former filmmaker James Glickenhaus gave us a character that not only stands toe-to-toe with the likes of Travis Bickle and Paul Kersey, but outdoes them in a number of ways. And I'm covering both of the films he's appeared in. He's the man they pushed too far. He is the Exterminator. In war, you have to kill to stay alive. On the streets of New York, it's often the same. Michael Jefferson is a decorated war hero, saved his best friend John Eastland in Nam, and came home to a steady job and a loving family. Sounds a lot like a character many of us know quite well, doesn't it? The big bad family man that looks out for his friends and has everything to lose. Well then, if it's not the war hero that's built like a brick shithouse, who is the Exterminator? Michael Jefferson's best friend John Eastland is pretty much a loner. Doesn't seem to have any family or friends besides Michael and Michael's family. Michael was all he had, and when some street thugs get him hanging by a string on life support, Eastland isn't too happy about it. In Death Wish, when Paul Kersey's wife and daughter are savagely attacked, Kersey does go on a heroic crusade of street justice that lasts for 4 other films, but where he kind of fails is, he never actually finds rapist Jeff Goldblum, thus never quite reaching a true catharsis. Eastland, on the other hand, this is almost immediately after Michael is attacked. Something just clicks in John. He becomes the soldier he wasn't able to be in Nam. He acquires the location of the gang that jumped Michael through some flamethrower persuasion and goes thug hunting with an M16. It is fucking amazing.
I'm sorry about this morning, alright? I mean, we didn't hurt you! Shit, man, that guy, he was just a nigga.
nigga was my best friend, you motherfucker.
And keep in mind, this is maybe less than 20 minutes into the fucking movie. So, where do we go from here? He's already avenged his best friend. His work is done, right? Oh, like fuck it is. This is no longer vengeance. This is punishment. John becomes a full-fledged Vietnam jacket-wearing vigilante, not only taking on mobsters that hide behind a meatpacking front, but he goes after as many street thugs as he can shoot with a magnum. Though one of the strongest parts of the film is when he goes after sex traffickers. John does his research by picking up a hooker and seeing her scar-ravaged body. This leads him to add an extra special touch to his arsenal for his assault on the sex traders. Mercury-tipped bullets, extra pain, extra lethal, shoot to kill. The whole setup for this takedown is absolutely beautiful. Like many scenes in this movie, it belongs in the Vigilante Hall of Fame. This isn't even the film's best scene, but it absolutely kicks the shit out of the finale of Taxi Driver. At least I think so. When you compare John Eastland to Travis Bickle, Eastland is clearly more of a badass and a lot more clever in his approach. He lies about having a young boy to sell to this creep. This not only gets him the response that he wants, justifying what he's about to do, but it's also like he uses it to get even fucking madder at these motherfuckers.
Hey, man, what's wrong with you? Just taking care of business.
You know, it's kind of funny. That's kind of what I'm doing here, too. Just fucking taking care of business.
It took Travis Bickle months and months of going crazier and crazier to save one teenage Jodie Foster. It took John Eastland about a day to shut down the sex traders that he went after. And he didn't even have any sort of bond with the victims or anything. He just saved them because it's the right thing for a vigilante to do. And speaking of the right thing for a vigilante to do, The Exterminator has a scene that I am surprised has not been ripped off in any of the Punisher films. I'm not going to ruin it with any play-by-play or any bullshit. I'm just going to give you the context. Eastland waits in a public bathroom to drug and kidnap this mafia dick shoe that uses a meatpacking company as a front. He chains the guy up over his own meat grinder. Enjoy.
What about the bodyguards and your lady friend?
Those two bums, that fucking whore, they took off.
Is there anything else I should know?
Hell no, you kidding me? Hey, look, I swear.
If you're lying, I'll be back.
Hold on. You gotta be kidding, buddy. I got your message. Don't do that! Calm down! Jesus Christ, no! What are you crazy? You're something? Oh my God! No!
Not a word. Not a fucking word. Walks in, flips the switch, walks out coldly. Stupid asshole had every reason to take Eastland seriously, but he didn't. It's a beautiful scene of zero bullshit vigilante perfection. The way Eastland walks in, battle damage from fighting with an attack dog, stoic face, doesn't say shit, just comes back to do what he promised. It's gotta be the most badass thing I've seen in any vigilante film. Sure, the Death Wish sequels contain stuff like Charles Bronson shooting a dude at point-blank range with a bazooka, or fixing a guy's dandruff problem by exploding him with a soccer ball. Yeah, that happened. Savage Streets had Linda Blair hunting bad guys down with a crossbow, and the finale of Taxi Driver is undeniably classic. But there's something about Robert Ginty's portrayal of frustration in this scene. The way he walks in, cold as ice, absolutely no hesitation for what he's about to do, he just does it. The Exterminator is a really full-on, grisly, and sleazy film. It has a real dirty vibe to it, almost like it emits a smell. The opening scene, which takes place during the Vietnam War, features one of the most shockingly realistic decapitations that I've ever seen in a film. From start to finish, The Exterminator is exactly what a vigilante film should be. But what about its sequel? The one with a really young Mario Van Peebles as the bad guy. The one released by Cannon Films, known for releasing action classics like Invasion USA and the Death Wish sequels. It's alright. It's not quite the full-on sleaze fest that the first one is, but I think it still has a lot of elements that make it worth watching just the same. Following the events of Exterminator 1, which is Eastland being ambushed by the CIA and seemingly dying as he's shot and falls into the East River, but revealing that he was wearing a bulletproof vest as he washes up on a beach at the end of the movie. Eastland continues where he left off, ruining the shit of every bad guy he comes across in New York City.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
Right off the bat, this movie actually gained some major points over the original. Eastland actually resembles the poster art. One of the coolest things about the Exterminator is the poster. Look at that shit, it's awesome. The helmet, the flamethrower, the bulging muscle, it's fucking badass. And as great of a film as the original is, it barely features any of that. It's just a vague reference to the gang he lights on fire early on in the film, and to this scene where he confronts some thugs while he's on a motorcycle. Still a sweet scene, just doesn't take them out with a flamethrower. I like it when I see over-the-top artwork on a movie poster and the movie actually resembles it. Makes me respect it all that much more. Alright, besides the truth in marketing, I should probably also talk about how well it holds up as a film compared to the original. Well, it's a pretty different movie, as I've already stated. It doesn't quite have the same vibe of sleaze, certainly not nearly as dark and brooding. The character of John Eastland, though played once again by the fantastic Robert Ginty, even sporting the same Vietnam-era field jacket that he was in the first film, is a pretty different guy.
You're looking for a date, honey?
I ain't that hungry.
He seems to be a lot more social now, definitely a lot better at making friends than he was before. He even falls in love with an exotic dancer. Things seem to be going pretty well for the guy. He's dating Caroline, a club dancer with a heart of gold that has aspirations to dance on Broadway someday, and his best friend is BG, the lovable tough guy garbage truck driver who also just so happens to be another of Eastland's army buddies. But he wasn't in the first film. I thought his only war buddy was Michael Jefferson. Doesn't this undermine the events of the first film? Well, there's a simple answer to that. It's never explained, therefore, it doesn't fucking matter. Exterminator 2 does a bit of the old retconning, but many a sequel does, and still manage to be enjoyable films to watch. One of the biggest examples I can think of is Robocop going from this...
Nice shooting, son. What's your name?
Murphy.
To this.
Isn't this a school day?
And I love Robocop 2. I think it's a blast to watch. But I do find it suspect that Robo goes from regaining his humanity and sounding normal right in front of the fucking CEO of OCP to being all, isn't this a school day? In front of a bunch of punks that have fuck all to do with how he's programmed. So, Eastland's allowed to be a happier guy with another war buddy. Call it sequel logic. At least it isn't like Highlander 2. Fucking aliens and shit. Exterminator 2 is more in the ballpark of, say, Robocop 2, or Rambo First Blood Part 2, or Gremlins 2. The original's darker, more serious, so the sequel is lighter and goes for more fun and action. And action Exterminator 2 has. In spades. All the scenes where Eastland is decked out in a steel mask and going around roasting street punks with his flamethrower are fucking awesome. And the main gang in the film, though quite cartoonish in appearance, even featuring a member that roller skates everywhere, are some pretty bad dudes. They knock off an armored car, destroy a police helicopter in the process, and kill the other driver of the armored car in rather brutal fashion, tying the poor son of a bitch on the subway tracks and leaving him to get absolutely annihilated by the oncoming train. This is a good example of not having to use gore to do something really violent on screen. Seeing that massive train fly by, we don't exactly have to see the guy get hit to know how absolutely fucked he is. The gang leader, X, played by Mario Van Peebles, is also more than worth highlighting. He leads a band of underground street toughs, deciding to go from mere petty crimes to full-on citywide domination when the Exterminator kills his brother.
The blood of the city flows through our veins. We are the children of the streets who have grown up to control the very streets that pounded us down, along with the filth and the garbage that ran in its gutters.
Eloquently spoken, intense, charismatic, looks like Grace Jones auditioning for the Road Warrior. It's hard not to love the guy. And of course, the film's piece de resistance, Eastland and BG turning a garbage truck into a bona fide badass machine. They storm a drug deal between X's gang and the mob, resulting in one hell of a firefight. Though this results in BG getting wasted by an enraged X and Caroline being raped and murdered in her own home, sending Eastland into a self-destructive spiral as he gears up to take down X and the rest of his gang once and for all on his own. And here's where I've really got to bring up the movie's major flaws. Eastland doesn't really save anybody in Exterminator 2. It's not something I really noticed until now, and it kind of fucking bothers me. In this film, we see that the Exterminator has seemingly upped his game as far as vigilante justice goes. He's using a police scanner to pinpoint exactly where crimes are happening, yet he always arrives after innocent people have been completely killed. The opening scene of the film, he's woken up by his police scanner. There's a liquor store being robbed. He gears up, heads out, catches the bad guys just as they've murdered the old couple that run the place. Girl getting attacked on the streets. He shows up not only long after she's dead, but there's even time for the goons to talk shit about the face she made before they ended her. And the biggest one of all, the fucking armored car. Where was the Exterminator on this one? Liquor stores being knocked off, random chicks on the street, he'll sure as fuck show up for those, but a whole armored car being jacked and a helicopter being blown out of the sky? I guess his police scanner didn't pick that one up. Granted, in this particular scene, BG sees what X's gang is doing and chases them away with the garbage truck, which to the film's credit is a way for the gang to later tie the Exterminator back to the garbage truck. And by doing so, creating more people for the Exterminator to not save. Under the circumstances of finding out who he is, who he associates with, and X being pretty fucking mad about the Exterminator killing his brother, he sends a hit on those close to him. There's a scene where Eastland and Caroline are out for a stroll in the park and X's boys attack them, chasing Caroline, destroying her legs, and all around kicking the living shit out of her. You see Eastland outrunning a fucking cop on a horse, yet he wasn't able to catch up and save her? Okay, fine, this creates incentive for Eastland to really kick into high vigilante hero gear and team up with BG to ruin X's chances to team up with the New York Mafia. Except BG dies, and then Caroline dies. Movie, I know the whole tragic hero that loses everybody close to him thing is cool and all, but he needs to save someone. The first Exterminator movie is way fucking darker, but he still saved people. The whole dark hero brooding thing doesn't work in Exterminator 2. It's too goofy. There's a gang member that roller skates everywhere. That roller skates everywhere. The fucker dies on his roller skates. You can't try to make this a serious movie all of a sudden. But in the end, even with these flaws, I still really enjoy Exterminator 2. A great job is done with making John Eastland a warmer character. Much, if not all of this, has to do with Robert Ginty being a fucking phenomenal actor. And again, I gotta praise the action. It really is pretty goddamn awesome. The finale with the Exterminator taking on X and the rest of his gang is fantastic. It's an all-out war in the garbage truck depot as the garbage battle truck rapes the shit out of the gang with newly added mounted guns. Survivors are burnt to death by traps that Eastland has set up in advance, and in the end it boils down to a game of cat and mouse between X and the Exterminator. The Exterminator, a dark, sleazy, brutal tale of Vietnam veteran revenge. Exterminator 2, a flawed but enjoyable sequel with colorful characters and a lot of people being burned to death in the process. The Exterminator was brought to us by former filmmaker James Glickenhaus. Before he went on to work for Wall Street, he was all about the cinema, mostly of the over-the-top action variety, with early Jackie Chan film The Protector and the amazing Peter Weller and Sam Elliott fighting crime on a motorcycle. But you may know it as Shakedown. though I think Exterminator is his lightning in a bottle. The Exterminator manages to make an everyman, an actual everyman like Robert Ginty, a force to be reckoned with. He's no Charles Bronson, he doesn't have a hard face, he doesn't have milk-bone forearms, but he makes you believe that he can be just as much of a badass as Paul Kersey, maybe even more so. Both Exterminator 1 and 2 feature familiar faces in the genre film world. The best friend in the first film is played by Steve James. He's played badasses in awesome 80s movies like Delta Force and American Ninja. Christopher George played Detective James Dalton. Besides appearing in exploitation classics like City of the Living Dead and Enter the Ninja, he also plays a cinematic cop in a fucking awesome movie that I reviewed ages ago, Pieces. He also has one of the absolute best lines in The Exterminator.
What do you think? I think you have to take a shit. It's coming out of your mouth instead of your asshole.
Samantha Eggar played Dr. Megan Stewart, Detective Dalton's love interest in the film. She also appeared in an impressive variety of films, ranging from David Cronenberg's The Brood to 1997's Hercules, and did voice work for the insanely popular Metalocalypse. The Viet Cong leader that brutally chops an American POW's head off at the beginning of the film is played by George Chung. He plays damn near the exact same role in Rambo First Blood Part 2. And like Samantha Eggar, he continues to get work. Dude did voice work for GTA 5. Mega-weight genre film character actor Irwin Keyes appears in both Exterminator 1 and 2 as a different character. The man's filmography is fucking staggering. It doesn't matter what kind of movies you're into, you've probably seen him in something. He's been in a movie almost every year since 1978. The credits range from other action flicks like Death Wish 4, family movies like The Flintstones, Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, and the amazing blaxploitation homage, Black Dynamite.
He's dead.
He's been in every kind of movie, usually as a really scary dude. Though ironically enough, he plays a regular old busboy in the slasher classic Friday the 13th. Mario Van Peebles is a man with a fucking hilarious name, but that didn't stop him from being awesome as the gang leader X. He hasn't been in the best movies, but his roles tend to be really memorable. If there's any reason to watch Highlander 3, it's for him.
You betrayed yourself, old man. Look at me. Oh no.
I don't know who told him to play the gayest Mongolian, but it was an amazing choice. Mario Van Peebles is also an accomplished director. In 1991, he directed New Jack City, the highest-grossing independent feature of that time. In 2003, he directed and starred in Badass, a biopic about his father, Melvin Van Peebles, writer, director, and star of the 1971 blaxploitation classic Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song. Mario's movie debut was in Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song. He was 13, and he has a sex scene with an older woman. It's a bit creepy, considering it's his dad's movie. BG, the badass truck driver with a heart of gold, was played by Frankie Faison. He's in So Bad They're Good movies like Chud and Maximum Overdrive, and So Good They're Awesome movies like Manhunter and Silence of the Lambs. Exterminator 2 was written and directed by Mark Bunzman. No film school under his belt, but he did produce the first one and was really passionate about making the second one. Unfortunately for him, and potentially for us, I don't think he quite made the movie that he wanted to make. The Cannon Group hated his cut of the film, so they got a film doctor to go and reshoot many scenes, including the entire ending. New York City garbage trucks were driven to LA so they could refilm the final battle between the Exterminator and X's gang. It's kind of really annoying because the scenes that are cut actually look really cool. You can see parts of the film's original cut in the trailer and in the making of. There's a bar shootout, an awesome looking standoff between Ginty and Peebles, and in the making of, you can see bits and pieces of the original ending, which, as far as I can tell, was Exterminator and X in an all-out street fight. Maybe someday we'll see Bunzman's original cut. I suppose the closest thing we have to that is Shout Factory's recent DVD release of Exterminator 2, included on the 4-pack action marathon set with Alienator, Eye of the Tiger, and Cyclone. There's a commentary track with Buntsman and Peebles, and the quality is night and day compared to the muddy VHS rip that's been floating around all these years. I don't know why I don't own it yet, but I aims to fix that. And now, without further ado, it's time to spotlight Robert Ginty! Robert Ginty is proof that you don't have to focus on one career path and that you can always switch gears. Ginty started on a road that seemed to be leading toward being a music star. From the age of 16 and onward, he was in several bands, and during this time he played on stage with the likes of Jimi Hendrix. But when the 1970s rolled around, he decided to give acting a go because, well, why the hell not? He trained at the neighborhood playhouse and the Actors Studio for a while, thriving in the theater circuit and performing on Broadway. He made his way to Hollywood and quickly found frequent work on several TV shows. He was on The Paper Chase right before he scored his first role in a film. It was The Exterminator. Gears change for Ginty once again as he goes from being a Broadway stage actor doing television work to a gritty action hero. The Exterminator was a box office hit at the time, and it helped to launch Ginty into a new career as an action star in his own right, starring in exploitation flicks like White Fire and the film that was made classic by Mystery Science Theater 3000, Warrior of the Lost World. Ginty even started his own production company, distributing his films overseas and in North America. And in the 90s, he decided to try his hand at producing and directing, performing directing chores on shows like Xena and Charmed. Ginty was also a painter. His art has been showcased in France, Italy, England, and Ireland. And just to really hammer in how eclectic the guy was, he directed a hip-hop musical version of Clockwork Orange.
You guys are crazy! I'm crazy? I'm crazy? Come here! I ain't crazy, but I'm mad! Do you hear me? I am mad!
Robert Ginty passed away in 2009, but his legacy lives on. A true icon in the exploitation genre. And as far as I can tell, The Exterminator lives on in pop culture. Lethal Weapon 4 opens with a steel-masked vigilante with a flamethrower wreaking havoc on the city. Looks a lot like the Exterminator 2 cover. One of the bosses in the game Hotline Miami is a vigilante that wears a bloodied-up motorcycle helmet. Looks a lot like the Exterminator 1 cover. And the most evident homage is in the music video to Don Diablo's Silent Shadows, which is said to have been directly inspired by the Exterminator 1 poster. It is a fucking awesome video, and it's a pretty damn good song. The Exterminator films, Robert Ginty, all things awesome. Now, if you'll excuse me, I made someone a promise, and I'm a man of my word.